Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Looks like everything is working here. Hello, what's going on, everybody? Production stream number 3. Trying to get this all taken care of and working the way I want to before, like, I start getting some guest DJs and guest producers and things like that up here on this platform with me. How are you all doing this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are checking things out? Blue Streak is in the house, and yeah, it looks like you're suffering with this heat wave just like the rest of us. My goodness, it's really friggin' hot. Like, it is really bad. Had to do some food shopping with the family earlier today, and yeah, it was pretty tough out there. You just really didn't want to be out there in that heat. But, you know, it is one of those things. It does come with summer, you know. Some people like it hot, some people like it cold. Unfortunately, Boston is not one of these areas that have, like, you know, perfect weather across the calendar and things like that, you know. But, you know, it could be worse. Yeah, we have 3 ACs running right now. One in the living room, one in our bed. Well, actually, 1, 2. There's like two ACs, and also 2 portable ones. I actually got one installed finally here in the studio, so it's actually pretty comfortable here in the basement right now. All you have to do is just turn on the dehumidifier setting, and it makes it nice and comfortable, like right in the 70s, but like 68 to 70 degrees, which is perfect. But anyhow, we're not going to talk about the suffering heat, you know. That's not what we're here for. At least I hope not, you know. We can talk about that more later. But right now, we're just going to get back into some music here. I pulled up some more projects that I've released under the name Midnight Society. Some more of actually all the mixes that I pulled up, with the exception of 2 of them, are private remixes. One is an upcoming project that's going to be on SoundGroove Records very soon. Another one is a record that I tried to load up last week, or actually on Monday. and for some strange reason it wasn't able to load because of a plugin issue. But I did get it to boot up this time, so I will pull that back up and show you guys that sequence as well. Once again, for all you new viewers out there, I use Acid Pro as a production tool. I've been using it since version 2. It's like at version 11 right now, and it's been around since the late 90s. Sonic Foundry first owned it. The Boom Boom Room is in the house. How are you? What's going on, my friend? I know a little different. I'm producing stuff. I'm showing music. Well, whatever I try to do when I'm down here in the studio. So yeah, going back to Acid Pro, I've been using it since the late 90s. Sonic Foundry first created it, but it was owned by Sony. Now it's owned by Magic Software, and I am privileged enough to be one of their featured artists. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun. I can't wait to show you some of these projects. In fact, the first one I'm gonna show you is definitely, well, let me see. I was planning to show you 5 different projects before we actually go back to the thing that we just started and just fooled around with the very first time I did a production stream. I actually have that sequence here as well. We can just kind of elaborate on it and just have fun and be silly with it, and who knows, it might turn into a track. But I was going to show you the Opus III. That's the It's a Fine Day white label I've been playing for the last several months on my stream. The Motorcycle remix, Silversun Pickups. That's like one of the most progressive and trancey things I've ever done on this platform. I also have my Madonna remix, To Live to Tell. That's a really special one because I actually got all of the multi-tracks to that before I did the mix. And that's the reason why it sounds the way it does. All the sounds came from the actual original recordings. And the first project I want to show you is actually something brand new. It's going to be coming up on SoundGroove Records very, very soon. And yeah, I'm excited with this because I just kind of finished it. So, well, I think I finished it. I'm going to be debuting. I'm going to give it a nice test run later on Drum Nation's stream tomorrow. But right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the chill hop. Lord knows I love my chill hop. But you know, we're not here for the chill hop music right now. We're here to check out these sequences and stuff like that. Acid Pro is just a really easy tool to work with if you're doing sequences. I think it's one of the most simplest and one of the most effective tools. It doesn't try to overthink things. It just keeps things nice and standard and not too elaborate. That way, if you're using a lot of samples, a lot of loops and things like that, even if you're using MIDI, I mean, I could use MIDI as well, but even when I tend to use MIDI instruments, I play the sound and then I actually bounce it out as a loop, because this program has so much power working with loops, whether they're like, you know, excuse me, whether if they're one shots, if there's an actual loop, if it needs to be beat matched, the whole thing, it just does it really, really well. But anyhow, I want to get to this record. This is something coming out on SoundGroove very, very soon. You may recognize the vocalists. If you don't, I'll just tell you who it is. It's DJ producer Craig Mitchell. He does everything, as you can only imagine. I mean, he's been doing this for a very, very long time, and I've been lucky enough to remix several of his projects, several of his songs, some of them on my label, some on his other label, Slanted Black. He did this song with this new group called San Mateo, and I'm playing this as a sneak peek because I just finished the sequence and I really just want to hear it from the beginning to end. So this is the very first time I'm ever playing this anywhere, and I think you're going to like it. It has a rather housey and slight disco feel. I think 50 points for anyone who can guess the disco loop, the disco samples from this. But I think it's going to be pretty easy to guess. So let's just get into it. The name of the song is called Can't Get Enough, coming out really soon on SoundGroove. This is my remix. Cookie Monster's in the house. What's going on? I was feeling a little Daft Punk with this intro. Anyone guess the disco loop here? The guitar sample is a dead giveaway. Streak, you got it 50% correct. Now which track is it? Butch Boy, how are you? So yes, Blue Streak, you got it. You got the inspiration for this remix. You got the inspiration for this remix right away. You actually, it was like right on the tip of your tongue, and it was one of those things where it's just like when I heard the original, it went in a similar key progression with like the pads and the synths and things like that. So I figured if we're gonna do a real dance version of it, let's actually just go all the way there and just give them the feel of it, give them full on housey disco grooves. It's a very dreamy track. It's a gorgeous record. I think Craig Mitchell's working with two other producers out of Burlington, Vermont on this one. I gotta figure out their names and stuff like that. He just sent me the acapella to this a little while ago. But yeah, Chic, La Freak, that was part of this entire groove. And yes, someone was nice enough to find me all of the multi-tracks to that. So I was able to use only just 2 parts from that entire record. If we're just going to go into the sequence just a little bit, just going to show you very quickly. I just used the main thing is the guitar. I used the bass guitar from the breakdown, and that's probably the thing that gives it away the most. Luckily for this particular, Blue Streak, did you have stems or did you extract it? Luckily, I was able to get full multi-tracks for this. Let's see. Oh, who's here? Oh, Half Swedish Mafia. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? This is my 3rd production stream. They will get better over time. And oh God, look who's here. Go! White Knox is here. How are you? So yeah, going back to Blue Streak's question, I was able to get the multi-tracks to this, and there's tons of them available. I'm actually learning that like there's a lot of people who actually have multi-tracks to like things that we can only dream of having, and they try to sell them. I mean, I know you've seen websites where they try to sell multi-tracks. Many of them are available for free, but there's certain ones where like they hold on to them lock and key, and it's like, you know what, I'll trade them or I'll sell them to you. Kind of like, you know. Can we hear the track that you are working on right now? Well, I just played it, but I can play a little bit more. I can play it again. I'll play a portion of it again before I go into this go into depth with this, just going through certain of the parts and some of the things that I did within the program in Acid Pro to like get the sound that I was looking for. So let me play it a little bit. Let me play it a little bit more again, just for Half Swedish Mafia. He just started following here, so let me start that again. That's what I'm working on right now. Definitely working on this record, and I'm really happy with the way it's sounding right now. And what are you talking about? Half Swedish Mafia would love to play one of my events though in a sunset. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of aiming for that type of sound. You know what I mean? With this particular record, it's they're a new group, and it's a very dreamy song. I actually have the original somewhere on my computer. I can let you listen to a sample of that as well. But yeah, going back to the stems issue with blue. Oh my goodness, I am stuttering over my words. I'm not even drunk yet. Blue Streak with the stems and the parts. I had all the multi-tracks to this, and I only needed 2 parts in order to just like really do what I wanted to do with it. The first thing is that legendary string bass during that breakdown. I mean, that is unmistakable. Like when you realize what it is, it just kind of gets into your soul. And yeah, that's exactly what I went for with this. Like, because I knew it went through the same key progression as the breakdown. So let me get this loop part here, and I will show you what I mean. Because there's another part as well from that record. I didn't sample the entire record, of course, and luckily with the stems, you can actually just take what you need and then elaborate on it. Let's see. What do you think about melodic techno genre? Any demos you got? Well, I mean, look, we like all genres of house music here. And if you've watched my Drum Nation shows, you can kind of see that I kind of go in all different directions. I may stay with one for a moment, or even for a majority of a show, just because I'm just in that groove and I just want to do it. But we play a little bit of everything here, and in fact, some of the other sequences I'm going to show you will kind of touch in some of these other different genres as well. But let's get back into this. Here's that chic bass line, you know. It's exactly what you expect it to sound like. And of course, because it's human. You know, no matter how perfect you were back in the day, you always played with like a little bit. It's still a little off because, like, you know, humans can't play as perfect as robots. But you know, you can always time stretch all that stuff on this program as well. I mean, you can see all the parts there, and if I really wanted to, you can just stretch all the right parts that you want, or just chop them up. Like, because since this is all wave data, this is all like sound information. This isn't MIDI. It's very easy to just cut and splice and just chop this, chop that, and reorganize whichever part you want from that entire sample and make it play exactly how you want it to play. And that's one of the main reasons why I love using Acid. It's so versatile that way. So the other thing was obviously the strings. So those gorgeous strings are right up here. See, it's unmistakable. When you can hear it like this, it's exactly how you would expect it to sound. It is absolutely like what it is. And yeah, I love strings. Everyone who knows me with music production, I love using strings. I have like a orchestra string set in here that I use on a lot of my productions, but this is exactly what it is. And in fact, I only used a certain portion of it. I mean, because all the strings are here. Like, if you really wanted to hear all the extra parts of the strings from this song, it's actually in here. Like, I could have used this part. Everything is here. It's the entire multi-track. So wherever they use strings, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous having this string pad. These multi-tracks, to be able to just look and just see what they were doing back then and like how they recorded them. I got left and right with that, and it's like, you know, it's beautiful, it's clean, pure sound. Like, I got left side and right side, so I can do them in stereo as I see fit. And you know, of course, this is the part that I used. But that's all I used, because I didn't need much more than that from this entire groove. At some point, like, you know, if you use too much of it, it's too much of a giveaway. So, like, I didn't want to use the entire thing, although it's really tempting. I mean, come on, you can... Everything is here. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love this song. And, you know, everyone knows the history behind the whole The Freak song. We were not going to go too much into it, but, like, you know, they made this song as a diss to Studio 54 because they couldn't get into the club, and they called it Fuck Off at one point. But they couldn't release the song that way, so they called it The Freak. That's what they said, you know, just a small piece. That's exactly, you know, some people really want the track to be that familiar, and, like, you know, sometimes that's kind of cool, but, like, you know, it's best when it's just... For me, I think it's just best when you have just a few elements of it. So, what is going on here? Any sound designing experience? Well, to some degree, yes, because, like, you know, many times what you want to do, you want to create a sound, or you want to create an instrument that sounds very similar to the track you're remixing, or sounds similar to, like, a track that you heard in. Like, for instance, I'll turn up the chill hop on this one, and I'll explain it a little bit. So, there was a remix I did with my good friend, DJ producer Manny Ward. We did a remix to Ultra Naté's Free. And yeah, that's a legendary record that got released beginning of 2021. They did a whole new package of remixes. And it was on Strictly, it's Retrotech. Mr. Wynux knows exactly who we're talking about. When I work with Manny Ward, we're Retrotech, and we do some very elaborate work. We've remixed Nona Hendrix, Black Stereo Faith, Angie Stone, Lenny Kravitz, etc., and we've done some other things as well that are going to be coming up soon. I can't wait to show you some of the Retrotech records and that we've done. In fact, that might be another production stream, especially if I can get Manny down here. That might happen sometime soon, but that's a whole different story. But anyhow, on that record, on Ultra Naté's Free, we got all brand new vocals, and we could not sample or use anything from the originals. And you know how classic that record is. It's so easy to just snatch, or well, I can't say snatch. It sounds like I'm just like bootlegging, but it was a real record. But you know, you just wanted to sample, and you wanted to take all those parts, because those drums, the guitar riff at the beginning is legendary. But you couldn't sample it. So I literally listened to that intro over and over and over again, and I found a whole bunch of different sound effects. I have tons of sound kits over here, but I listened to it, and I literally recreated the guitar so it could be similar yet different enough so that when it's on the system, it sounds like how it's supposed to sound. But when you actually listen to it, like in headphones, and when you really analyze it, you realize it's definitely not the sample. And in fact, I had to prove it to them that I didn't sample it by showing them exactly the wave files and how I did it on the sequencer. But you know, that might actually be a project that I show on my next stream. I'll show you the Ultra Naté's Free remix that we did for Retrotech. That'll be a lot of fun to do. We should make demo listening streams. I thought about that because, you know, of course, because I have SoundGroove Records. That's my record label for the last 16 plus years, and it's still going strong after all those years. You can check out some of the links there that I just posted. But you know, I kind of go back and forth with it, because like some of the luckily on Twitch, a lot of the sessions I've seen have been pretty cool, especially if they wound up finding music and content that that they weren't necessarily major fans of. And my whole thing is like, you know, even though I may or may not like a certain record or whatever it is, who am I to say if the record is worthy enough to be on a label? There's going to be someone out there who would think it is, and they may own a label, and they may just release it as is. You know what I mean? I know the types of things I look for SoundGroove. It tends to be really, really broad, especially mainly it's just because we like the record and we just support it. It has nothing to do with it being a trend or anything like that. But, you know, I might want to do something like that sometime in the future. Demo listening and things like that. We could just talk about the records a little bit and have them here, like, you know, bring them in the nice little panel window, another circle just like this one, you know, and just be able to showcase other people's music. But anyhow, I want to play this again. I want to start playing it again. And then I'm just going to start turning on all my elements, the things that I added to it. Because for one, I had to add my own bass to it, and this is what it came out like. And then we have the drum. The other drum parts are here. This is a nice disco drum loop with congas, which I chopped up a little bit here. Fernando De Los is in the house. How are you? What's going on, baby? So yeah, that's the main part with the music. I mean, that guitar, that string, and then, like, you know, you can just add everything else on top of that, and the congas just give it that nice extra swing. Now, the only other thing that I actually used from the original, and there's a lot of great stuff on there, but, like, you know, I wanted this to be more my own remix. I used the ARPs, the synth ARPs from their original. So let's move this loop section right over here, and I will play from there, and I will loop that part because we already have everything else that's soloed going on, and we'll just continue. Tiller K2112, how are you? The only other thing to add was some piano, and I found the right grooves right up here. So there you go. All I had to do was just take those two parts from Chic, and then I formed an entirely different groove over it. You know, taking the parts that most people wouldn't recognize right away from that song. You know, try to make it more obscure. You know, that's when it makes the records more fun. At least I think so. And yeah, those pianos, I was kind of inspired by The Sun Rising by The Beloved. That's why it has that particular groove, the way I programmed those guitars. And let me see if I can try to get this. Well, first let me put my cocktail down. Oh my God, you know. I position my mic this way so I can actually sample things by itself and not try to produce music with just one hand. I did that on the very first stream and it was really, really slow. But yeah, these pianos were very inspired by The Beloved, one of my favorite groups. And yeah, you can listen to it right here. And yeah, a little bit of track EQ. Some reverb and simple delay always make piano sound good. And yeah, that was a very simple touch, but it just adds a little bit of extra energy to that record. Yep. You used to use Logic. I have Logic too. I haven't used it in a long time though, and I certainly haven't upgraded it in ages. So like, I would not be doing a production stream in Logic anytime soon, at least not now. But yeah, this is Acid Pro. Really good program for sequencing. I've sworn by this program for a very long time, and still do. And yeah, this record, this is a brand new remix. It's going to be coming out very, very soon. I'm actually going to test it out on Drum Nation tomorrow night at midnight. I'm going to be doing my stream. Or I think it's at 11 o'clock at night. I think we're doing it at 11 o'clock. Fernando De Los is also part of the lineup for Quad Squad Fridays. He's going to be going on right before me. The ladies of the Quad Squad are all doing their own thing right now. We have Felicia Villani, who is recovering right now and getting rested up so she can join back up to the team, and looking forward to her return. And of course, DJ Deanne is in Croatia right now for Defected. That is going to be, I wish I was over there, but you know, maybe next time. But Fernando De Los and I will be doing the Quad Squad duties. He's going to bang us out, and his basement looks cooler than mine. I mean, I've said that forever, and when you see it, you would understand. But going back to this record, Fernando, thank you once again for being here. This is going to be coming out on SoundGroove Records very, very soon. I'm going to test it out for the first time EQ-wise and see how it sounds in the mix. And yeah, we'll have a release date with that soon. And I think we have some other remixers on that, but I'll talk about that on tomorrow's stream. Next project I want to show you. I have it loaded up. Speaking of stems, I was lucky enough to find all the full multi-track to this, and I actually, the reason why I did this is because one of my best friends in the world is a big Madonna fan, and it was like, and I told him, if I ever was lucky enough to find the stems and find the original parts to this, I was just looking for the acapella, but if I was able to find the original acapella to this, clean and everything like that, I didn't have to like try to filter it or anything like that, I would make a remix for it and make a remix of it and give him the very first copy. And then it happened, like 25 years later, I found everything. Hold on a second. Definitely don't want to cough in anyone's ear. But anyhow, one of the other things I want to show before I start playing this, this is a very interesting way for me to organize all the parts that I used in the sequence. It made it a lot easier to find things, and I should be this more thorough when I like EQing and organizing tracks, but I'm not. But like, you know, being able to lay out the parts and the sections, especially like when like this is more, like I have a section that's just for acapellas, one that's all the original stems that I used from the record itself, which I had everything, but of course you don't need to use everything, so I used just enough that I want for this remix. The additional instruments are all the things that I added to it. In fact, let me see if I can. Well, it's kind of hard to zoom in on all this. Zoom in on this entire thing. One of these days, he is not liking the world right now. But we will. Let's see. There's gonna be another way to make this smaller. Oh, one day it'll be smaller. But yes, there's also a section that I call bitch makeup, and I think I've jokingly talked about this before. I call all the swooshes, the whooshes, the clashes, the like white noise sweeps and all other stuff, I call it the bitch makeup, because that's when, like, you know, you make your record glamorous looking and sounding and things like that. You know, it's not just a groove at that point. You dress it up so that like people can really connect to the record more and not just look at something and not just listen to something that's just groove and no other direction. But anyhow, I'm gonna stop talking now because I've talked way too much and I wanna refill my drink. So why don't you guys listen to this? Conrad Boston's in the house. How are you? We're gonna have to get you into the studio here soon. Flip Physics, thank you so much for the follow. So yeah, this was a remix I did to Madonna's Live to Tell, and it uses the original parts from it on top of like everything else that I've added to it. So I want to start it not directly at the beginning. I want to start it right about here. So get into this. I want to go get myself another drink, and let's get into it. So yeah, I used 5 things from the original. I used synth, some of their effects, the vocal obviously, and the strings. Time to get a drink. And you can't do a remix of this song without giving that infamous part. And I think that's the main reason why I wanted to do the remix. Happy Place Traveler, welcome back. See, the good thing of being able to actually put all the tracks within another folder here on Twitch, here on Acid, it makes it very easy to just isolate sections even better. Like, I don't have to do it track by track unless I really wanted to. But I did this just so I can highlight all the musical elements that I used from the original. And this is from the original. These are all from the original multi-tracks. Although there's one instrument in here that for some reason is not playing, and I'm surprised. But, you know, I will try to figure that out for another show. And of course the acapella, you know.
I've seen it once, I know the one she gives. The light that you could never see.
Okay, Happy Place Traveler. How do you chop them up? I mean, it's really simple. I mean, what I'll do is I will go to a part where I did not actually do any sequencing, so I don't mess up the original. But all you have to really do, like for instance, if I took the strings and I just drew them out here with the pencil, you see where the red dot is. You can draw them out at that point, and then it's literally in Acid. It literally is a point where you can do it this simple. You can be this simple. Just erase the parts that you don't want, and you know you can have that eraser tool snap or everything snap to a particular grid. You can take this off and it's free form, which actually comes in handy sometimes if you just want to do the editing directly out of Acid and you don't want to like use an additional audio editor to figure out where exactly something begins and ends and makes the loop. Sometimes you can just use the DAW itself to do all that editing, do some simple editing for you. But see, let me take this out, and what I'll do is this. We'll let this play. Well, I just want this part right here, this part, so we can just have some fun with it a little bit. We'll delete that. We'll just play here. Let me turn it up. So those are the infamous keys. That's the infamous keyboard strings. So you see how long this is, right? If I wanted to, I could have made that part really long. So like, let's say like we could be really silly. We'll take that part out and we'll say at this point we'll just have it keep playing this part over and over and over again. So like if I really wanted to, I could cause all this unnecessary but interesting drama on the dance floor. So like now, instead of it being that short, you just edit it, copy paste, and then the next thing you know, now it's like this. Yeah, the DJ has looped it and will not let it go. And it's going to keep going. Maybe we'll pitch this one up just to be silly. Yeah, see, there's a lot of things you could do with this. I mean, it's the direct audio. It's the multi-track. It's that data that makes it very easy to work with in Acid Pro, because that's what it was designed for. It was designed to be that easy with samples. So let me go back in here and start playing this one. I gotta turn back down these keys. I want to add all my instruments to it. There's a bass line that I added to it. I also added my own strings at some point. I added a little bit of pizzicato to this record at the very beginning and at the end. So what I'll do is I'll play at that part so you can hear exactly. So this shows you some... These are strings that I added. These are the Miroslav strings that I love so much. They have all different styles, and it's all orchestra recorded. So you could do all sorts of different things with this, with those strings, and then they sound really good with this project. And of course the drums. There's plenty of drums, percussion. Boom Boom Room, is that a plugin? This isn't a plugin. This is the full DAW. Although I'm sure, like, if people wanted to use this as just a tool to spit out like loops and spit up loops for any other type of program, this would be a great tool to use because it's really powerful for it. Let's see, the strings. No, the strings, that's all audio too. I can show you the folder down here. One of my favorite groups, companies that made sounds, Miroslav. They actually have solo instruments, but they have this thing for strings as well. There's tons and tons and tons of violin. Let me actually turn this up a little bit, some of the chill clubs, so I can show you here. Miroslav strings right here. You can see where the red dot is. They have tons and tons of strings. Violins, violas, bass, cellos, the whole thing. And it's all orchestra. Like, you go inside here. Let's see. I go into the violins. Where are they now? Okay, where are you, strings? How many times have I used you and now all of a sudden you don't want to be seen? That's kind of weird. Here they go. Sorry, wrong folder. But bass, strings, cellos, violas, violins, it's all there. And it's I know there's some amazing plugins out there that work with strings, but like a lot of times the reason why I do audio is because sometimes my computers are not strong enough to run those heavy plugins. So I had to figure out another way to get those sounds that I wanted. So it just made me rely a lot more on just royalty-free audio and just really affect and use the the plugins that actually come with the DAW, because that they're kind of optimized to work better. So that's what I used. Miroslav strings, I would totally get them. I would get them if you find them on any of your favorite sites where you buy sounds or plugins or samples or whatever it is. Definitely get them. I think it makes all tracks sound like really, really dramatic. Let's see. Happy Place Traveler, how often will you take one instrument and change to something vastly different? A string to a percussion and work the new. Sometimes that happens. The good thing is that, especially when I'm doing a remix, if I get enough of the material from the original recording, you can actually just play around with stuff like that, and you never know. You can turn a drum. What a lot of people like to do, they can turn a drum into like some sort of a bass note, pitch it up, pitch it down, take off a little bit of the EQ, roll off a little bit of the low end of the EQ, and the next thing you know, they have a nice thumpy bass sounding note that they can put on over a different kick, and then the next thing you know, you have that extra thump to it, extra feel to it. A lot of tech house people do that. A lot of techno people do that. I do that once in a while too. I think the weirdest thing I did, I took someone's vocal and made it into a synth. I did that on like a Rockwell and Corbo record on my label a while back, but that'll be another project I can show you for another day. But you know, this was my remix to Madonna's Lived It Out. And I had a great time doing this remix. And it was a surprise that I had for New York Pride back in the day. Like, you know, they didn't expect me to have this record ready. They didn't even know I was doing it. And then it was just like, okay. I think I actually, like, when I went there, I went to New York, I had Ted Bishop play it for the first time in New York. And the crowd was like, there's a new Madonna. I was like, of course this is a new Madonna. This just happens to be a remix. But anyhow, I want to go to another record here. Something else that you might have heard me play on the stream. And it's actually one of the very first remixes of my own that I played on Twitch. And the main reason why I played it is because it was one of the first times I was actually rated by Gabriel in Dresden. So, like, you know, the Club Quarantine crew was in huge effect. They were, you know, you get rated by like 500, 600 people of like that. And the next thing you want to do, you want to play music that makes them happy. But they never had heard this version of probably one of their favorite songs. And I actually sent this to Dave Dresden a long time ago. So I know he knows it exists. It's definitely not in his traditional style, though. Do you use Melodyne and that Camelot table? Actually, let's see. Well, how I'm going to say this. Yeah, Acid Pro has I was about to say Resolume. See, I'm in video land now. Go back to audio. Acid Pro actually has Melodyne built in. You can actually use that as a plugin to actually take out, to strip acapellas in certain parts now. But to be honest with you, like I was showing La last time, I kind of got into using that for getting parts, and I know you can do, like, with direct note access, you could do a lot really cool stuff with chords in Melodyne. That will probably be one of the big reasons why I would use it. Like if I wanted to take the chords and go change it from minor to major without having because if you try to, like, just pitch it up and down, it doesn't like sit right with certain sequences. So Melodyne will always have a use because of that. I mean, I don't think the AIs are that good when it comes to affecting chords. But anyhow, this is the infamous Motorcycle As the Rush Comes. And all the remixes that are out there, for the most part, are all really trancey and epic because it was a huge trancey epic record. But what I did is I made one that was more drummy, slightly drummy, not too much. Something that was more in the lines of, like, Angel Moraes with the way he would program drums. I love that man. God, it's so crazy that he's gone now. But anyhow, let me play this. Some of you might have heard this on my show. Let me start playing it right now. Actually, let's go back here. Nope, let's go back a little further. I loaded up a version of this that wasn't 100% complete. There's some elements missing from it, although the groove is basically the same. That's an interesting question. Interesting question from the Boom Boom Room. So what is your rule of thumb on the layout of the track? How many counts for intro and the outro? Well, I love intros. I love outros. You know. Let me cough. Can't cough in your ear, guys. But I love intros and outros. Almost every single one of my records will at least have like some sort of like at least a 30-second to a minute intro, just beats to mix into, and then from there I start slowly but surely adding elements to a track, and then from there, depending on how much drama I want to build, then at some point I will just drop it, and then you will hear like the meat and potatoes of the track. There have been times when like I've done remixes and then like, you know, the vocal doesn't even drop until like the 4th minute in because I'm too busy playing with all the different effects and the synth noises and the pads and just building all this drama, thinking that like I'm still on the dance floor at the Sound Factory in New York, you know, when records could be 11 to 12, 13 minutes long. In fact, this remix I think is like a 12-minute one. It's one of those infamous records. Yeah, something. Let's see what time it is. Yeah, it goes to 11. Oh, yeah. 11 minutes and 41 seconds. This is a really long one. In fact, I give plenty of beats to mix out of as well. And the way I do this type of this production, I make it so that like if I had to edit it down for like, you know, the dance floor is where you can't really play a record for 11 to 12 minutes long. I know exactly where to edit it so I can make like a 7 to 8 minute version. And I'm getting better with making radio edits and more radio friendly records, but like try to get me to do a record underneath 4 minutes or even under 5. That's really difficult for me when I'm doing a house record, because house records to me are at least, like, I think clubs, they gotta be at least 5 minutes long or longer, even though I know now that house records are being put up on Facebook, on Beatport, on TrackSource, even on like, you know, Spotify, they're like 2.5 minutes long. I'm like, I don't even know how you could do a record at 2.5 minutes. That's my intro, you know. I've never been able to do a record that short. Maybe one day I'll try. You know, I don't know if I'll ever succeed in making anything successful that short, but that is one thing I will. The day that I actually have that, the day I actually do that, I'll actually laugh at myself. But anyhow, this is the motorcycle thing. I've played this many of times on my stream, and yeah, I might pull it out for tomorrow actually. So definitely check this out. It's a private mix. I can't actually give this out to anyone. I don't want Positiva coming after me. Again, I don't want Positiva coming after me, trying to sue me, or anything like that. So I cannot pass this one out, but I will play it on my show every so often. You shouldn't go to pee and miss a full song. Happy Place Traveler, I do agree. And the way some of these records are made these days, if you go to the bathroom, you'll miss 5 songs. Seriously, I've seen people release albums with like 10 tracks, like more, like 12, 13 tracks, and the entire album length is like 30 minutes long. It's like, what did you actually do with this album? That be able to have 12 pieces of music and it not even be an hour. I don't even know. But anyhow, let's get back into sequences here. I got 2 more I want to show you. This is the most tranciest thing, I think the most progressive and tranciest thing I've ever done. And I started doing this especially after I started getting more support from, hey, that's EDM. I'm sure you probably saw the video where someone like mashed up all of the top EDM records that were on Beatport. They just did the intros for like a good 2 to 3 minutes, and they all like just mixed together in this strange way where they were almost all on key, and it went through like 30 songs in like 2 minutes. It was just ridiculous. I won't show the video here. It's actually kind of shady. We're not shady here. We're fierce. But anyhow, this is like one of the tranciest records I ever did. And it's one of my favorite alternative rock groups. You'll find out very quickly that I have a thing about remixing alternative rock into dance music for some reason. I don't know why. I just think the vocals in alternative right now are so friggin' good. Even when they do remakes, which this happened to be a remake. I wasn't expecting to do this. I didn't think I was going to find an acapella. In fact, I found the filtered acapella. So that was the best I could do, but I really wanted to remix this song because I remember the original. The original is by Martika. I think I kind of gave it away from there. But then Silversun Pickups did a version of this in 2020, right before the pandemic struck. And so, like, when we were all trapped in our homes, couldn't go out anywhere or whatever you wanted to call it, quarantine, it was a perfect time for me to explore. So I started getting into slightly more progressive and trancey production, especially with Club Quarantine being big the way it was. So let me play this. You might have heard this on my show too. This is the Silversun Pickups doing Toy Soldiers. Yep, Boom Boom Room. Yes. Silversun Pickups remaking Martika. They did this in 2020.
It wasn't my intention to mislead you. It never should have been this way. What can I say? It's true, I did extend the invitation. I never knew how long you'd stay.
There's those Miroslav strings again right down here. This was actually a challenge for me because it forced me to be more melodic and trancey, which I don't usually do in production. But I actually really liked doing this. This was a lot of fun.
It's getting harder, wake up in the morning. My head is spinning constantly. How could it be? How could I be so blind to this very shy that I don't stop? The next one's gonna be me.
Interesting. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this record. I had a blast doing this record, mainly because I love Silversun Pickups. Yeah, because I love a lot of alternative rock groups, and yeah, I will always be turning alternative rock into dance records. I'm not sure if the alternative rock community likes that, but at the same token, I kind of like doing it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. Let me see. The Martika, you said you had the original acapella. The funny thing is, if I actually had the original Martika parts to Toy Soldier, I don't think I would have done anything this progressive. I hear the song in my head, and I can hear the key. I can hear her singing it. There's a completely different mood that comes from that record. So I probably would do something a little darker, a little bit drummier. I would probably do something like that to a Martika. But for some reason, with Silversun Pickups doing it the way they did it, it made me feel more progressive and more trancey. Especially since I was hanging around with the Club Quarantine crew a lot more often. You can get two, three, four different people singing the same song, and it's just going to make you feel a completely different way. And if you had the parts, you just kind of do it the way that you just kind of feel. So like, again, on this, the only thing that I had from it was a filtered acapella. There was no actual parts for this particular one, and luckily with the way it was filtered, it actually kind of sounded like I did it intentionally, although that's just the file by itself. Excuse me, I'm kind of burping here. I don't want to burp in your ear. So yeah, the filtered acapella. Everything else was my production. There was no instruments from the original at all. Yeah, I actually would do it. Like if I actually had Martika's original, I probably would try to revisit this and just do a completely different version, and then that way we could do a compare and contrast. Something that I would actually do in the future. Believe it or not, everyone knows that Kate Bush record, Running Up That Hill, just got really, really popular all over again because of Stranger Things. Sorry about that. But ironically, before that happened, there was a gorgeous version done by Meg Myers. Right around 2019, 2020, sometime around that time. Really dramatic too. And there was a remix contest, so there was a way for you to get stems. There was a way to get the parts to that, which I actually have the acapella to Meg Myers. I had started a remix, never finished it. And then the Kate Bush got really, really popular, and I'm like, do I finish it or not? But that's another record where, like, if I had the original parts and the Meg Myers version, which I do have the parts for, and I was going tribal drum anthem with Meg Myers because she just sang it so dramatically, and the major synth part, it just sounds huge on the Meg Myers. If you ever hear the original version that she did, not any of the remixes, because there's one or two that are out there kind of on the melodic side, but the synth on that is so huge because, newer synths and stuff like that. So maybe one of these days I'll finish that Meg Myers and we'll bring that up here and we'll showcase that. Maybe we can do it together, who knows. Silversun Pickups, again, that's another record, another private mix. So I got one more of these sequences I want to show you, and then we're going to go to that little thing that we were working, or at least we started on the very first stream when I was just showing you this like little basics with Acid Pro. I tried to pull this up last on Monday, and for some reason it just would not load, but right now it will. I got it all up and running. It just takes a while to load because of all the vocal samples and parts on it, so it's like it's not actually crashing. So yes, you've heard me play this as well, and for some reason this was supposed to come out a long time ago, but it's so tied up in litigation, and one of these days it will be released, and then that way everybody will be able to get their own copies of it. It's the infamous Opus III. Kirsty Hawkshaw did the original vocal, of course. And the name of the track is It's a Fine Day. Now, I'm watching the computer go through all sorts of things. I had this open. I had it open. I had it playing, and there you go. Very good, computer. Don't be evil. Let's see. Okay, Curtis, how would you remix Kate when it was first hits the chart? How would it be different from a remix you might do now? That's an interesting question. If I actually had the Kate Bush, if I had that right now, knowing how the original sounds, I mean, there's so many different versions that are out there that use the Kate Bush thing. I'm just, part of me, I mean, that's a really tough one. I mean, I know doing the Meg Myers one was just really easy because it just had that really dramatic synth, and I will pull that up, and I'll let you listen to that. But the original, I mean, I've heard people try to do it techie. I've heard people try to do that in just so many different directions, and it's a gorgeous record. But that's like one of those few records that, like, when I heard it, I just never knew exactly how to remix it. I never knew what to do with the Kate Bush version. It just sounded good the way it is, and I heard blame Meg Myers. I have Meg's version like stuck in my head. In fact, well, what I'll do, I think I have the Meg version, the original mix, the original remake that she did back in 2019, and you'll see what I mean. You do something that would stand out in the crowd. Well, there's a lot of ways to make a record stand out in the crowd. You can do something. There's a lot of things you can do to make anything stand out. I mean, to be honest with you, I can just showcase this and show you that type of idea. One of the main things you can do with any record to make it stand out is make sure to change up that beat at the right time, change the tempo, whatever it is, something that wakes people up. But anyhow, this is something I wanted to play for you last week, or on Monday. I wanted to show you the sequence. This is the infamous It's a Fine Day. You've heard me play this many times on my stream. It's all brand new vocals from Kirsty Hawkshaw. It'll eventually come out. I'm sure of it. I keep promising everyone it's going to be coming out. But I've been playing it for the last couple of years. But it will be coming out soon. For people who don't know what it is, let me just start it right now. litigation might not be the best word for it. I'll talk about it later. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this record. You guys have heard this before.
It's a fine day, people open windows, they leave their houses just for a short while.
Even though these are all brand new vocals, these aren't from the original. She still sounds exactly like the original.
It's a fine day, people open windows, they leave their houses just for a short while. It's going to be a fine night tonight. It's going to be a fine day tomorrow. It's going to be a fine night tonight. It's going to be a fine day tomorrow. It's going to be a fine night tonight. It's going to be a fine day tomorrow. It's going to be a fine night tonight. It's going to be a fine day
Now, ironically, to do the chorus on this record, it sounded so much bigger on the old Opus 3 record, but it really was just a synth. And I actually had a similar synth for vocals, and I was able to recreate that crazy effect on it right here. I had to find that sample in order to throw that in here. And then I did breakbeat. Oh my God, I've been talking here the entire time and I did not press a freaking button. I didn't even turn back on my mic. So I'm hearing myself talk in headphones. So you saw my mouth moving, and and nothing was coming out. My God. So let me repeat what I was saying about this record. Because Happy Place Traveler, you asked the question, does she still sing it? She thought she said no more. Boom Boom said, he was commenting on the whole litigation thing. So here's the slight tea on this record. So this was given to me for a remix back in 2019. The group, or the person that was leading the project at that particular time, she reached out to me and a couple of other people to do the record. And of course we talked with Kirsty, because Kirsty made the final approval on which mixes were picked, which ones weren't going to get picked. And luckily mine was chosen, with a bunch of others. And it looked like everything was ready to go for release back then, or like maybe in early 2020 or something like that. But then there was a crazy issue between her and the group that she was working with to do the release. So that just put the entire project in limbo. And I didn't know all the details to it. I mean, I just did the remix, and I was sitting back wondering when I could actually play it and when I could actually pass it out. Unfortunately, I have not been able to pass this out to practically anybody. But I wound up talking to Kirsty a couple of times here and there throughout the pandemic, and just trying to figure out exactly what might be happening with this. And, she gave hints that she was still working on it, but it was going to take a little bit more time. Then that time went from weeks to months, from months to a couple of years. It's now like 3 years since I remixed this record, and it's still not out. And the last time I checked, she is working with another group of people to bring back this record. And I'm not sure if it's going to be done on the original label, if she's got her own label for it. I mean, Kirsty, her voice is on so many different records and on so many different labels. I'm sure any one of them would be mad interested in re-releasing Opus 3. Yeah, it's kind of in limbo right now. And it stinks because I really, really wanted this record to come out. This is one of the many records I really wanted to come out that just may not ever see the light of day as a real commercial release. I think many producers all have that. I'm sure if we had some major name producers out here, we can talk to them about the records that they wish would have made waves and were made available, and they never saw the light of day. I have so much of that stuff on this computer, but that's a different story for a different day. Maybe I'll pull up another one of those sequences at some point, and we'll deal with that when it comes. But anyhow, Opus 3, Kirsty Hawkshaw. I wanted to at least play a little bit of it. I'm sure you guys have heard that on my Drum Nation show. I want to actually go back to this production thing that we started. When I first started this show, when I did my very first production stream, I just basically wanted to show people what you can do. Is this her magnum opus she's protective of? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I love her as a vocalist. As a person, I've only had a couple of interactions with her online. I don't know her beyond that. And I tried not to be so much involved with some of the backroom drama with some of this stuff. I already have enough drama of my own. It would stink if this record could never come out, but at least we know it exists, And I got permission to play it, so as long as I can still play it, it's all good, It would really suck if I couldn't play it anywhere. That's the reason why I played it on Twitch so much. But anyhow, when I first started doing the production stream, it was last week, not last Monday, but the Monday before that, 2 weeks ago. I wanted to just get into the habit of just doing this, and it helps to keep the creative juices flowing and stuff like that. And I'm glad that there's people here who are interested in looking at all this stuff and just seeing how a particular DAW works. There's a lot of production streams out here. You can see people doing things in Ableton and Logic and Pro Tools and everything else like that. But yeah, I really wanted to show Acid because there's not many people who are using this. But anyhow, I wound up putting this together right in front of you, all of you, just to show you basically what the program could do. So we can just review this very quickly. Like, the idea is that you have all your sounds down here. You probably have a hard drive full of royalty-free loops and sounds, or whatever you sampled, whatever you decided to get your sounds from. Like, you could be sampling your own record collections, which a lot of people do, or you can buy royalty-free samples from loop masters or something like that. And the idea is that you just take the loops and you can just use your pencil tool and you can just draw them for as long as you want. So that's what we started doing, and this groove came out of it just from fooling around. And I did this with one hand because I was holding on to the microphone like a dunce the first time I did this. So here we go. We started with this groove right here, just a simple drum, just to show them that it will actually match to a particular tempo. The BPM right now is at 124. And, we can just keep adding additional drums to it. So I decided to put my favorite kick drum right now, which is from a Loop Masters kit from Defected. And that made things sound a little bit more interesting. Happy Place Traveler. Makes me want to go grab GarageBand and revisit things. Yeah. GarageBand is based on, I'll go right out and say, like, sequence-wise, GarageBand and even a little bit of Ableton is based off of this. This is one of the very first programs that really just nailed it with samples and loops. And a lot of people don't want to admit that, but, like, it is. But the thing is, it's like, since this program's only PC only, you're going to get Ableton users and even GarageBand users are going to get more attention because a lot of musicians use Mac. They don't use PCs to make beats. And even though I'm a Mac user, I love this program enough to get a PC to use it. And it's kind of the same way with OBS. I think OBS works better on a PC than a Mac for some reason. I don't know why, but there is a reason to have a PC, at least for Acid Pro. You can emulate it on a Mac though, but that's a whole different story. So yeah, I just kept on adding different loops. The next one came from a loop kit that's available also on Loop Masters from Chus and Sabalos. So you can already imagine the drums that are on this one. So this is the loop that I picked for this one. Yeah, chunky, very, very chunky. Hold on for 1 second. We got a comment right over here. Let's see. We'll pause this. Fruity Loops. Yeah, I loved Fruity Loops. In fact, I didn't use it as much as one of my good friends. I had two producers on SoundGroove Records that were really good with Fruity Loops. One of them is still using Fruity Loops up to this day, FL Studio as their main DAW. DJ producer Bass Rockwell out of Brooklyn. He does massive, crazy techno beats and stripped down, raw, just drummy type things. I've played some of his tracks on my show, and he's also an artist on my label. I absolutely love him. And yeah, he loves FL Studio, and when he comes down here, we go back and forth. Like, I'll do either I'm doing parts in Acid and giving it to him to sequence in FL Studio, or vice versa, depending on the type of sound that we're going for. And that's how we wound up doing our record that's on DJ Pierre's label. And yeah, that's something we can talk about on a future show. And Citric out of Portugal, he's now producing under the name Dave Nash. He was a monster on FL and Fruity Loops. He made some really dark, it was like Merc meets Portugal, like really good drum records that used to just drive people crazy down at the Winter Music Conference. Like, they were wondering who in the name of God was this. They thought it was like some big production crew. And it was just like this really cool cat out of Portugal who just knew how to make things dark, tribal, and chuggy. And well, maybe I can get Dave Nash over here and have him interview him or something like that. But FL Studio, even they learned that you can't just do a PC version. They made a Mac version of it, and it actually works pretty goddamn well. So, I've wanted to toy with it every so often, but I know I work the fastest in Acid, so that's the reason why I keep going back to this. But anyhow, let's start the sequence again. This is what I started. So, I'm trying to remember exactly who suggested that I should add cowbell to this. But then, cowbells do work on chuggy grooves like this. So, we found the cowbell loop and we added to the mix. Cowbell works. And then there's a shaker that we added to this that for some reason I like, but then at the same token I don't like. So maybe that will change. We'll just add it there and I'll show you what I mean. I mean, I am a fan of this loop, but for some reason I'm not a fan of it. Not in this particular production. And I know so many times I had started records, and it starts with 4 or 5 different loops, and then the very next thing, I find one sound, and it completely changes almost every single loop that's on the record, and to be honest with you, it was this particular sound right here, which is something I actually used on a record called The New Dimension for DJ Petsy, another producer out of Portugal. And it was on Magna Recordings, which is Carlos Manassa's label, and came out during the days of the Winter Music Conference when it was really big, back in 2003, 2004. And I wound up using this, which was on New Directions, which is a really good sound kit. I'll rant and rave about how wonderful that kit is. Buy it if you can. But this sound right here, when I added it to this, made me rethink everything about this shaker. So let me just start playing it right now. Those chords are just so sexy. A chord like that, I just don't think this shaker works with it. That's a very energetic shaker. I do like that for records that are going to be more big room, especially if you want to do something more electro style and it has a lot of more harsh lead synth, not a lot of pads, not a lot of lush stuff to it. But yeah. So that's making me rethink this. But I figured we started this together. Technically, we started this together right here on Twitch when I started doing my first stream. So I figured, we can just add a little bit more to it. We still got about a little bit more than 20 minutes left before kind of send you guys off to raid land and figure out exactly who we're going to go listen to. Maybe, well, there's a couple of DJs I might send you to. I'm going to think about that over time. But we can just work on this record together. Maybe we can see exactly where this can go. Maybe this might become another remix to The New Dimension. It would be kind of funny to have a new mix to that almost 20 years later. But anyhow, okay, so let's see what other people are suggesting. Make you want to step. Oh, it's got walk. Yeah, it definitely has more cowbell. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to start actually EQing some of this stuff so you can kind of see what I'm getting into and making sure that it actually, like, works. So what I'm going to do, I am going to start playing with the first beat. Now, one of the things that I do when I mix, when I actually do any type of production in the DAW, I do follow a rule where I don't want any sound or the main mix going above -6 dB. And the reason for that is because when you actually do some mastering, you want to have some headroom above, so that, like, you can do whatever compression, whatever you need to boost loudness or anything else in the record. You need to be able to have that room so that it can actually make those adjustments. Because if you had everything at 0 and then tried to master on top of that, it's just going to distort. It's going to be really, really loud and distorted, and that actually hurts ears over time. People don't seem to realize that, but there's a way to make records way too friggin' loud. And although it may have impact in a club or on a sound system, your body and your ears over time will definitely hear it. Like, that's the reason why it's ringing, because it's just like it's EQ'd to be way too loud. But anyhow, I try not to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this down somewhat. Let's see. Let me put this. That's the kick. So let's start with the kick here. Easiest thing to do is to try to get your kick drum. And I always try to get that kick drum to be right around -12. Because then that gives you room to add every sound effect, every drum, everything else that you want to add on top of your kick drum. It gives you a buffer of -6 dB, so certain things can be louder, certain things can be a little softer. But I try to make that around -12. And then depending on whatever I'm adding to it, I might make the kick a little softer, might make it a little bit louder, but like as long as it's around the -12 marker, that's good enough for this example. It's like, it's not exactly perfectly centered. You can see it's still off a little bit. You can see that it's a little bit more louder to the left than it is to the right, but that's perfectly fine for what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do now is I want to turn on that first loop that I had, which is right here. And as you can see what's happening, as soon as you turn it on, the volume here goes up super, super fast, because a lot of things are landing on the same exact time, especially that kick drum. There's 2 kicks now landing on one another, and that's making that peak out even more. And sometimes that's what some people want. That's perfectly fine if that's the type of effect you want, because a lot of producers like to layer kicks depending on the effect that they want. I know a lot of techno producers do it, and sometimes you want to do it because one kick has more impact at the beginning. It's meaty, it's thumpy, and then the other part of it has the snap to it, which is the stuff that you wind up hearing. So you can kind of put together your own kicks by layering them. But we're not going to do that with this. What I want to do, I'm going to go in here into my plugins and get that infamous plugin that I love so much. It's weird. Well, there's the EQ. We'll figure out the EQ at some point too. But I don't want the thump off of this so much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it more like a top loop. I'm going to EQ some of that out. Make that, maybe put it up to 150 at this point. That rolls off enough of that low end so that it's not conflicting with the initial kick that I want to be heard and felt. And then if I go down here, you can already see that I'm already lowering some of the volume here. It was already going up to like -7, -6, but just that little roll off there of 150 hertz brings it down to like -8. But we can go even further. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my plugin. I like using the Kickstarter plugin. It is definitely one of the best things Nicky Romero has ever done. Cable guys deserve a lot of credit for this, because a lot of people like to use the sidechain, and this is a perfectly simple. It's beyond simple what it does for sidechaining. But I don't like to use sidechaining so much as the effect. DJ John Henry's in the house. How are you doing? Yes, we are playing with my DAW. We're all doing acid. Acid Pro, that is, of course. You guys do not want to see me on acid, trust me. I don't even want to see myself on drugs. I already know how goofy I am when I drink. But that's a whole different story for a different show. It won't be a producer stream. That'll probably be like, That probably will be a reflection on like all the bad mistakes I've done in my life. Who knows? But anyhow, excuse me. Going back to this plugin. This Nicky Romero plugin is actually really, really cool because it does a sidechain. Just to give you a general idea, I'm putting it on track 2 where it has the house beat. Without it, it sounds like this. You can already hear it. And I don't know why they did that. Why the became so huge. Stop being evil. But anyhow, you can hear it. That's just the loop the way it normally is. Now, when I turn on the Kickstart plugin, listen to what happens. You can hear how some of the audio is completely erased from it. And it's done by this particular wave format that you see here, this envelope. You can see the actual wave playing here, and whatever lands in this area gets ducked down by whatever this knob is set by. So at 100%, it basically just takes it all out. It might be a little bit easier to check this out on a synth so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So that's what I'll do. Just to be funny, we'll do it with a synth because that way people will know exactly what I'm talking about because they've heard this effect on so many friggin' records. I mean, especially with EDM, they do this all the time. And sometimes it's cool. And then sometimes it's just like, why? Why are you doing it to everything? So let's see if I can find myself some crazy, wild sound effect here where you can really hear it. And let's see. Let's preview this. That's a nice bass, but not. Here we go. So you hear that noise. You hear that heavy. Yeah, it's like this, and you can hear it. You like imagine that being just like a crazy synth. I mean, it's a bass line, but it does the same thing here. You can. It's thick. It just grinds. So if I actually brought that plugin right now into this, you'll hear it. You'll definitely be able to hear the side chaining effect. You hear how it ducks out right around here because that's the envelope that's here on the plugin. But there's all these different envelopes that you can use. So you can make it even shorter or longer. There's even some weirder ones that are like more like this. And yeah, at 100%, anything that's ducked down, you just don't hear it all. But you can adjust it, of course. And then, depending on how much you want that effect in the mix, you can get that effect that people like, especially if you're using it with synths. And I know a lot of people do. So this makes it simple. I know there's a lot of other plugins that can be really elaborate with doing the side chaining. But this plugin makes it so simple. And the plugin is so inexpensive. It's available from Cable Guys. And I highly recommend it because it's just inexpensive and it gets the job done. You can even make your own custom envelopes, which I don't do too much with because a lot of the defaults are actually really good. And they have crazy ones like this too. I've never used this in a record yet, not this setting, but one day I might find the right thing for it. But that just gives you a general idea of what that plugin does, and yeah, go get that if you like it, and support all the people out here who are helping you guys make great beats and make music. Make music, not bombs. Unless the record is a bomb, one of those things. Let's see. So let's get back into this. We're going to the house beat, and now we got the Kickstarter plugin going in here. So we're gonna put that beat back on. You can hear it doing it a little bit. Hold on for a second. What I want to do, I want to turn that kick back on. I'm not going to have the mix. I rarely ever have the mix all the way up to 100 whenever I use this plugin. I just use it just enough so you can hear elements. But I make sure that the places where especially with kicks, you just don't want too many sounds clashing and on the same parts, because that's exactly where your volumes will just go super, super high. So sometimes I'm around 20, 30, 40%, depending if it's percussion or if it's a synth or a pad or something like that. But if you look at it, now the volume here is down to -9 compared to what it was before we actually turned on the Kickstarter. If I turn it off, you'll see just how much more you'll hear the kick get meatier, but you'll see how it affects the volume here. So let me just turn it off. So you can see it reacting right away. -7 dB right now, because so many things those kicks are just hitting. Everything on the 1/4 note is just hitting at the same time with no regard to each other. So there's clash. But when I hit it and turn it back on, just by turning it down, just having a sidechain this low, I get back almost 3 dB in my mix, because I want to make sure nothing goes above -6, no matter how many things I'm playing here in my track or my remix or whatever I'm doing here. I don't want to go past -6 here in the main mix, so I can have room for mastering. Let's see. Is this going to be a vocal? Well, John Henry, it can be. This is just something that I started fooling around with when I first started doing the stream, just so I can showcase what the program can do and some of the tricks that I use when I produce. There is no set direction for this. Any suggestions are good suggestions. So this may actually become something that we complete. And then again, if we do wind up completing a full track here on Twitch, anyone who is subscribed to me will get a free copy of the record, as long as I can pass it out. I can't pass out the Motorcycle, Opus III, or any of the private mixes, but anything brand spanking new, where all the vocals and samples are cleared. And we do have things that we can use, because there are royalty-free samples, royalty-free vocals. In fact, next show I'll play you a song that was made from royalty-free vocals. There's a lot of them out there, believe it or not. But again, that's a different discussion for another day. So we got this going on right now. I want to lower this volume just a little bit more. It's different right now. That's just a kick by itself. And now you have those two things playing together. This is where I'm going to start lowering the other kick up above, because I like being able to have a little bit of extra room for actual melodic instruments and synths and things like that. I don't want the drums, unless I'm doing a super massive tribal record, or an Afro house record or something like that. That's when you don't mind the drums going crazy. But I kind of want to keep them under control for right now. Let's look on the next sample. That is from the Chus and Chapalos thing, and this is when it really starts getting chuggy. See, once again it's peaking, so why don't we turn this down at least. I don't want the kick on that one as well, because I want to make sure that this kick stays like, you know, in the forefront. So like, let's roll off a little bit on here as well, but not too much, because there's some other percussion here that needs a little bit of the low end, so I'm not going to roll it off as much as I do other loops when I just want to have it as a top loop. But, you know, once again, I'm going to put this around 150. Just doing this by ear, not necessarily by any real set formula or any cheat sheet or anything like that. And on this one as well, I'm going to add the Kickstarter plugin. In fact, what's interesting about this one is that if you actually kept it up to 100, this is what you wind up getting as an effect. And it takes away that really heavy kick that's here, which is really cool, because you want that heavy kick to be the initial kick noise that you had up here. Well, at least that's what I want. So what I want to do is I may actually keep that at 100, because when they play together, you get that same groove, you get that same swing, but the audio is much cleaner. It's not as heavy. And there's plenty of headroom, so that when we add bass notes, when we add synth, when we add pads, vocals, they have room to breathe. They have volume that you can use with it. You know, you can compress certain things so that it won't peak, make too much noise. But anyhow, we got that groove going right now, and now we're going to turn on the cowbells, of course, because gotta have more cowbell. That's a little high, so I want to turn that down as well. Now notice that cowbell is hitting on fourth notes too, so that also has a tendency to clash with the kick, because it's all playing on that same note. So, ironically, you may not need to sidechain that so much, because since it is higher, if you get rid of like some of the low frequency on that, you can still hear the cowbell, and it may not affect the kick drum so much. We'll do like a harsher roll off on that, and as you can see, it added just a little bit more volume. Like we're above -10 now because we added this loop to it, but I don't actually mind it, because, you know, it is an accent. If you really didn't want that, you can, of course, you know, sidechain it, or if you didn't even have it decided. The funny thing is, if you didn't have a sidechaining plugin, you can add a volume envelope and pretty much just draw it in yourself. But you know, we won't do that. We don't have to go through all that right now. And now let's go to the chords, which are right here, which are going to be coming up next. The chords, obviously, what I want to do, I don't want them to be too bass heavy, because you need the chords to not conflict with whatever bass we add to it. This I'm going to use my cheat sheet for, and if you were here on Monday, you know I added a little cheat sheet to my Discord, and I will post a link to my Discord right now so you can take a look at it if you want. Please join it, it's free. And yeah, you can get a copy of this cheat sheet that I use for like EQing and sound placement. It works really, really well. It's a great way to get yourself started. And, you know, following that, you can get yourself like 75, 85, 90% done with your mixes and EQs. And then the rest of it is just through feeling and through ear. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on this sheet right now. And with the pads, they have a particular formula to use to keep it nice and clean when you have everything else playing. So it says roll off the low end rumble, the low end up to 160. So what I'll do is I will do that here. Make sure that's all cut off here to roll off right there. Cut it. Now they always talk about other things like you don't want it to be too muddy, or you don't want it to be too thick or whatever it needs to be, because this is a pad. This is a pad synth. It's not the lead synth, and it's not the bass synth, because we want to do a completely different bass. At least I want to do a completely different bass note with it. So what I'm going to do, I want to turn this on. I want to turn it on solo so you can hear it come on. And then, well, first let's hear it without the EQ. I turned off the EQ. I'm gonna turn it down some, because as you can see, it peaked immediately. That first note peaked really quickly, and I don't mind it peaking a little bit and giving a little bit more volume at that point, because you do want this to be heard over the beat, but you don't want it to be so loud that, like, again, you don't have headroom. So we turn it down a little bit, make sure that it's not too loud. If I wanted to, I can put it to the left, to the right for extra sound placement, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. So I turned it down a little bit. You can still hear it. It's still peaking a little bit. Let me turn on the track EQ. See, just that little roll off that I did at 160. This used to go up to like into the world of -7 dB. Now it's staying in the -8 realm. So just that little EQ and turning this down a little bit enough helped to clean up the mix a little bit. As you can see, what I like to do is, like, I like to try to EQ the sounds, each sound individually. I put a track EQ on everything and just adjust depending on what I want in the mix. That way, when I master at the end, there's not much you have to do with the mastering, you know, because if you have to, like, twist knobs halfway off your machines or off your DAWs in order to master and make it sound right, then there's something wrong in the actual EQ of your original mix before you even got to the mastering stage. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. And so you can still feel it and you can still hear all the main parts to this. We're now starting to get into like the -9 land. You can still hear it. Now, you know, depending on what you want, you might want this to be louder. I don't necessarily think it needs to be louder. I just think you need to hear it, and then that way, with this groove, it just feels lush. So what I'm going to do, I am actually going to add the Kickstarter to it. But I'm not going to have it so harsh. I'm going to turn it down a lot. I'm going to turn it down to like negative, and then like in the 24, 25% low compared to like some of the other effects that you would normally use it for. Like for the drums, it's in the 40s land. If I wanted to do that EDM synth thing, I can turn it up to 100 on a synth like I showed you before. But now, if I put it up here, same sound. See how this is starting to come down even more? And it gives you more headroom. And you're right around -9. I think the left channel goes up just a tiny bit more, and that's perfectly fine. You know, we're still not going way too much overboard with the sound here. But it's a much cleaner sound compared to what we started with. And again, there's that dreaded shaker. I don't even know if I want to use that, to be honest with you. But, you know, it's kind of cool. I think it's cool. Maybe you guys think it's cool as well. Discord address invalid. Crap. See the one thing. Yeah, let me stop this. The one thing I've always hated about those Discord links, and I can spill the tea on that. The one thing I hate about it, you supposedly can make a link that always works and doesn't expire, but then for some reason they do. So let me see if I can what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to rectify the situation. I'm going to post another link to my Discord right now. So let's go over here. By the way, let me just show you exactly what it looks like. Oh my goodness, what's going on here now? Boom. And that was supposed to be there. And boom. Yeah, that's crazy. That wasn't supposed to happen. But anyhow, Discord does exist. I do have one. I will make a completely different link for this, and I will post that in the chat right before we end this night's session. One of the things I want to talk about regarding the sessions, I do want to do this stream at least 2 times a week. I think the Monday is actually a really good day for it. I mean, the Monday has been really good so far. But I also want to do another day. I'm testing out on Thursday. Maybe we might move this to a weekend. I'm not 100% certain. But, you know, you guys can let me know. Send me some feedback. And let me know what would be good days for the second stream. And I'll think about everything that we're doing and try to set it up in my schedule to do what we need so we can meet here and bang beats and have a lot of fun. That's what I think would be the ideal thing to do. So what I want to do, invite people. I'm going to make that's not what I needed to do. Invite for Drum Nation. No, that's invite people. I need to make an entirely new link. Mute server. No, we're not gonna mute server. Let's see. Use copy button. Yeah, invite. Oh, edit invite link. We're gonna do it for 7 days. Generate a new link. Now let's see. I generated a new link. Let's see if this works. Paste. Of course not. Hello. Copy. Let's try it one more time. Paste. Okay, cool. Try that link, please. If you want to join my Discord, hopefully that will work. I am learning Discord as I go along, and one of these days my Discord will be really, really cool, and it will actually function as well as some of these other people out there. But for right now, it's a work in progress, just like the stream, just like the production stream. But yes, please, if you want to get access to that cheat sheet that I was using earlier for production, for this little demonstration for EQ, you can download it from there. There's a whole bunch of other fun sections as well. One for recipes, one that talks about anime, and all other weird stuff that I get into. But anyhow, we are going to end right here because, I want to do these streams for about 2 hours. And we will get back to this production. I'm still thinking about whether or not this is going to become a remix to the New Dimension or something completely different. Someone talked about vocals earlier. That is completely valid. Let me know what type of vocals you might want to hear on it. Any type of suggestions at all, please post them in the Discord. I do have a section for the production stream. It's just music production in general. If you go there under DJs and producers, you'll see the first 2 videos, links to the first 2 videos that I've done. I'll be adding this third link, this third video to it as well. And yeah, you'll see the cheat sheet. Just give me whatever information you want, any feedback, and just let me know the types of things you want to do for records and tracks, and we will experiment together and maybe come up with something really cool. I would love to be able to come up with something and then make it available to everyone who's following me or subscribe to me on Twitch, and then that way we can all start playing it. And you never know. Maybe something could be cool enough to release on SoundGroove. That is possible as well. But anyhow, this is the end of the production stream for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for the last 2+ hours, 2 hours, 7 minutes. Not too bad of a time for a session. We're going to raid, I think we should raid Rob the Boom. I think it's his birthday too. I heard it was his birthday. And we gotta support DJs when they have their birthdays, that's just something you do. Next time you're gonna see me here will be tomorrow. I'll be doing a DJ stream as part of the Quad Squad, the infamous Quad Squad. It'll be yours truly along with Fernando De Los It's just the boys playing tomorrow night, because the girls are all doing different things. And, again, Deanne's in Croatia for Defected. My God, I'm going to live my life through her for the next couple of days. She's even visiting Venice, which is one of my favorite cities in the entire world to visit. I gave her the name of my favorite restaurant over there. And yeah, if you're ever going to Venice, let me know. I will tell you about a restaurant where all the plates were going back licked clean. The only thing they had to do with the plates was just rinse them, because everybody was eating every morsel of food off those plates. It was so delicious. But that's a different story for another time. I'll see you tomorrow as part of the Quad Squad. My show starts right around midnight to start off the weekend. I may have a special guest as well. But if that happens, you will know when you tune in and watch. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned for the raid. I want to get that started right now. And again, join my Discord. Give me all sorts of information, all sorts of feedback. I'll read it all, and we will figure out exactly how to make this production stream grow even bigger and have more people and make lovely music. All right? Have a great night. Rob the Boom, we're coming for you. And we will see each other tomorrow for Drum Nation. Until then, take care and have a great rest of your day, night, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye-bye, guys.
Oh,